Devin Rucker here. Thanks for joining us on another episode of The Coach's Corner. We're at the LevelUp Training Complex, home of the LevelUp Studios. Today's guest, varsity boys swim coach Erin Dowen from Monroe High. Scott, Todd, take it away.
And we are back. Another episode of Coach's Corner.
Number
4, because we're counting the pilot as 1.
They haven't kicked us off yet. I got to make sure I got this up here. Last time.
I told you last time. I said, wait till it's episode 229. This is crazy.
But how many views did we get?
I don't want to brag, but 1,200 views. 1,200 views.
Yep.
And that was Coach Bork. We appreciate Coach Bork coming on. That was great.
Oh.
So this is like the family edition.
The Coach Bork episode. Yeah. He messaged me on the side, and he said
I
was right about the 9 flat in the dual meet. So Coach Bork, I appreciate you.
Nice of him to do
Yep. He looked at it.
Coach's Corner this morning. We are with Erin Dowen, Monroe Swimming. We're talking all things water today, lady. Welcome to the big show.
Thank you for having me.
This is awesome. So I know you and Todd have something in common here, right? Todd grew up at the Y swimming, right?
I was a Monroe Dolphin.
He was a Monroe Dolphin. You grew up in the pool. Of course, I know your whole family.
Pool, yep.
Erin and I are cousins, right? So I know Uncle Ron and Hedge in the pool early and often. So for those that don't know you and your swimming family, tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I have been swimming since I could walk, basically. I was on that pool deck growing up because of my dad being the high school coach. I swam on a team from the time I was about 4 all through college. And I just love swimming. And when my kids got old enough to do it, I kind of got back into it as well. And I've been the varsity swim coach for boys. This is my 3rd season.
Yeah.
And just got done with my 2nd season of the girls varsity team.
Good stuff. Avid swimmer, swam in college. We're going to get to some of that throughout the show.
Ashland.
But people want to know, right? So I said this off air, and it's one of my favorite. I mean, Todd always brings heavy-hitting questions, right? So So my personal favorite last time was, name some of your top runners, Coach Bork. And of course, he's number 1. Mm-hmm. Why would you ask the question? So, but I got to ask you, right? You're growing up, right? Living large, right? You and your sister, and you've got posters in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Can you just walk us into your bedroom of what that was like growing up?
Well,
and maybe who graced your walls, just so we can get that out.
A little embarrassing. I had a fan.
The whole show is embarrassing at times.
Well, okay, that's all right. I can get into that. I had a poster of Todd. I had a huge poster of Todd signed. My dad gave it to me for a gift, actually. He had set a goal for me to get a certain split on my 3rd lap of the mile. And I got it, and he brought that home and had actually, who was it? Rich Jarek framed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Coach
he had
Jarek.
it framed by Coach Jarek, and so it's something I've kept, and I still have. I almost brought today just to embarrass him.
Blow the dust off. There's a lot of dust on it now.
Might have been a
It's
little-
rolled up. It's rolled up.
But it was a topic of conversation this morning for my daughter, who also is a distance runner, too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. So, yeah, I always like to build that when my kids were growing up. It's like, if you just do X, Y, and Z, you too can get a Todd Williams poster. In fact, I do that now at school.
Well,
if you just clean up after yourself, if you get on the honor roll.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he should have set those goals a little bit higher for me. Yeah. That's okay.
You're embarrassing me, Scott. I'm embarrassed.
I love it. All right, so obviously Uncle Ron, right? Legendary Hall of Fame coach at Monroe. So early influences, other coaches that had an impact on your life. You mentioned Ashland swimming in college. So other coaches that got you into what you're doing now.
Yeah, my college coach, we called him the Big Punisher because he put the punishment in. I was a distance swimmer going into that, and I went to Michigan State my first year to swim, but got shoulder surgery. So it was great to have a coach believe in me to do something different than distance swimming. So I ended up being a breaststroker there, and he impacted my life a lot. But other than my dad, I'd have to say John Bolt. I mean, what a great man,
Legend.
what a great Christian, and just a really great coach.
Yeah.
He makes you love it.
Yes.
And you have to love a sport to be any good at it.
And speaking of, that's one. We'd definitely get John on the show one day.
That's true. Yeah, we've made like a
He's
list.
influenced, like she said, the last episode we talked about coaches in the area that made a huge impact. And I don't know how many kids he's made an impact on, but it's up there.
And I still am involved with him a little bit too because of my kids attending there, and Ava runs for him. Evan will this year also, and he's just the same. He keeps it. This is for you. This is how good do you want to be? What do you want to put into it to get out? So
yeah, I went out to
great
that the cross country meet this past fall.
Yes.
And he was running with the kids. It's
Yep.
and he's never changed.
No,
he's
he
doing the
hasn't.
warm up with the kids. He's doing the warm down with the kids.
Yep.
He's cheering them on at the starting line, and that's what we touched on. That's what we're trying to touch on each show is what kind of qualities did Coach Bolt give you? So now you've carried that on into your coaching.
Oh yeah, I think the main one, and my dad did this also, is the documentation. And I think you mentioned that with Coach Bork also.
Yes.
I have a packet, and I'm well underway because we only have 2 more weeks left of boys' season, that I give them with every single detail of what they accomplished for the season, and we go through it because you forget while you're in the middle of it, like, what did we just do, or what did we do over these last few months? And so John Bolt always tallies miles. And so I do that for swimming. So every yard that my swimmers do, I keep track of it. You get out to pee at the wrong time, you're minus a 50 or whatever it was you were out. So
no Todd Williams poster for you.
I do my best to keep track of that stuff because the accountability of it is really there then. You know, you have a big accomplishment at the end.
So is that a yardage for the whole season, or is it a yardage preseason?
The whole season.
The whole season.
So warm up, warm down, meets are included. Anytime you swam for me, it gets documented.
Did you have a leader? Like, is there a top? Okay.
It's called the Yardage King or the Yardage Queen, and they get a trophy for that at the end.
What was the season. Who was the winners this year?
The girls' season was Nicole Reisky, and the boys hasn't been finished yet.
Oh,
there's
To
2
be
boys
determined.
really
There we go.
close to each other.
Oh, neck and neck.
Yeah.
I like it.
that is awesome though, because you think about the impact of Coach Bork. I remember those top 10 list, and I got the University of Tennessee the top 10 list, and Coach Bork did it. I remember the training. If we did 16 times a quarter, or at University of Tennessee like the 15K, all those times for kids is something they can shoot for. So it's super important to have that for the kids
It's more
to aim at.
tangible goals
Yes.
that you get to have, like, instead of just jumping, I want to be a state qualifier. Well, it takes a lot of time to get there. So how do you do that? You're going to have to swim a lot. So we'll start doing that first.
And then you can compare. So if you had athletes qualify for state or qualify for region, then the new kids coming through say, well, I want to do that. Then you can kind of say, well, if you're going to do that, look what this person
what it
did.
takes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So, advice for Coach Bolt, your college coach, your dad. A piece of advice that they gave you that you still use today with your student athletes.
My dad always tells me, quit overthinking it.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. And I do, because I really care about it. I love swimming and I love sports and what it does for kids and the confidence that they get from it. So I get so emotionally attached to it myself. And he's like, just don't overthink it. What is the right choice? Make the decision, think about it, and move on.
Oh, I like
So
that.
I thought that was pretty good
Decisive?
advice. Yes,
Okay.
be a little more decisive. And I think you have to meet kids where they're at. I think John Bolt does that. What's your desire? What's your goal? Everybody wants to be number one or be the best person, but how can you become better each day at practice and hold yourself accountable for that?
So the importance of a relationship, you touched on it. I know you've had coaches, I've had coaches. Hopefully we have both been those kind of coaches. I know you are today.
I'm trying to be, for sure.
The importance of establishing a healthy relationship with your student athletes outside of the pool. Tell us about what that means to your program as far as building a program.
Yeah, really a lot of that comes from my assistant coach, Haley Hurley. She is a huge asset to the program because she runs the YMCA aquatics department and handles our club team. So the kids get a huge touch point with her and get to do, club training and swimming through her as well. So year-round stuff happens a bit more in that. I think for the most part, though, the relationships happen just by the day-to-day. So if I see a kid's having a tough time, I'm trying to take them aside to be like, hey, what's going on? What can I do? Or letting them know you're there for them. Because some kids aren't interested in being number one. They're just there because they want to participate. And that is a huge part of our program too. Those are the best kinds of kids. Because once they see the specialness that you can get on your own and working with a team, it's pretty great to watch them improve.
Yeah. And in saying that, so you jumped in, become the head coach. Was it last year?
So for girls, this was my second year. And for boys, this is my third
Year. What made you want to jump in?
My nephew. My nephew was swimming at the time. I had another nephew about to come in. And I don't know that anybody really was in line to do it. So for me, I looked at it like, this program means so much to me. I was raised on that pool deck. So if I could bring something special to it and help it grow, I wanted to try to do that.
And I think, knowing a little bit about when you took over, the success story of how many kids were on the team when you took over and how many kids are out now. Yeah, it's awesome.
I still think
that's
we
awesome.
could use some growing.
Yeah.
So anybody that wants to swim, I'll teach you how to swim. But we had 21 boys this year, which was a huge accomplishment. The first year, I think I had 4 boys signed up. One was my nephew.
Yeah.
And so I was super thankful that we've had more kids try it. In fact, we have a lot of cross-country boys, actually, that swim. So they get some off training in the wintertime, and that's been nice, too.
I had one student of mine, JJ, he cross-country and he jiu-jitsu, and then now he's swimming.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, JJ.
Yep,
yeah, he's long. He seems like he could be a good swimmer.
Yeah, I mean, they really complement each other. And that's another thing, too. I mean, the support of other coaches is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, the cross-country coach at Monroe being good that, hey, you don't want to run or track? We're glad you're swimming.
Right.
And so the encouragement of that, I think, has been really nice to see, too, especially because I don't work at Monroe High. I don't get to see these kids in the hallway. So having other coaches support the program has been really nice.
Because I think that's a huge part of it. Like when you see the successful programs in the county is the grassroots. Like, you know, the YMCA. I remember when I was growing up, you had the country club swim team.
Yeah.
You had the YMCA Dolphins, and now you said it's the Wave.
Yeah, it's called
Wave.
Tide.
Yeah, so the Tide. So it's like that's what you have to have for that interest. And then the more you become successful, kids are like, when I go to Monroe, I want to swim.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where you changed. You know, and Coach Bork talked about that as well, like the landscape when he took over in '79. How everybody's like, could you know? But if you love it and you have the passion, and you're showing that, next thing you know, you've went from 4 kids to 20-something kids, and you're starting to win dual meets and doing some things that you're doing. And then everybody wants to be part of success.
You know, but not everybody wants to win.
Right.
And that's what's been difficult for me because I'm like, let's get those points. Like I want to get first place. Like what do we need to do to get there? And that's what I was saying about meeting the kids where they're at. You know, I want their goal to be to win. And if our goal collectively is to win, eventually we're going to be winning.
How do you handle that though? Like, because you're competitive, hyper competitive.
I'm very hyper competitive.
Right. And if you have a kid like this at a practice and you're giving them a set to do, and they're just like,
I'm satisfied just being okay.
Yeah, just like touching the wall and kind of laughing.
It depends on the kid.
Yeah.
It depends on the kid.
Because I think
if
that would,
somebody is like
my
that
hat would fly off.
consistently, It's very frustrating. But I don't have anybody on my team that's like that consistently. They just have a
Tough
day
day.
where you gotta just, all right, get it together. Let's get going. I don't know what you're doing today, but it's not good. But I think encouraging everybody, you know, and we do like a Trojan of the week. So my captains pick who the Trojan of the week is each week. And it's not based upon points or who is the best athlete. It's based upon who's the best teammate. Who did you care about having there with you this week? Who did you see try really hard on a set or knock it out, and they always get out on the hard set, or learn how to dive when they didn't know how to dive? So that's been really fun, and we have a good variety of kids that win that award, both our top athletes and kids that just learned how to swim this year. So that's been really fun, too. They encourage each other that way, more than just me being that.
What is the toughest set that you give your kids to do?
We do a set. We do challenge sets a lot. I like challenge sets. I think that it shows an accomplishment, you know, of where you're at. Our goal this year was 5100s, and we do that. We have been doing that consistently since I started doing this. We just try to get our interval down. So the first year we were on 140. This year we're on 130. So we're trying to work our way to consistently be at a better spot. Now, swimming, you have to just gradually get there, you know? So it takes the whole season for some of these kids to get there. And because of sicknesses and other things, we haven't even done it yet. We're going to do it at the end of the season this year because I just didn't want too much of a push. So their challenge set is coming at the end. The girls' team was not as happy about that. But the boys' season is chopped up because of Christmas break and because of different holidays.
And for the non-swimmers out there, 50 like Scott, 50 times 100 means 50 times 100 yard on 140. So every time the clock, or 130, every time the clock hits 130, that whatever recovery they get, correct? So if they finish in 115, they get 15.
Yeah, you get 15 seconds push, go for your next.
Yeah. So you should go. I think we should take the show on the road. We should take the show on the road sometimes.
We talked about, I don't know if you saw
do one at 130.
I can't swim.
I would like to race you in 100.
We're going to do that on the next coach's corner.
I'm wearing board shorts. I'm not wearing Speedo.
Well, you wear what you want.
He's trying to get me in a Speedo. It's not.
Well, we just thought a coach's corner, whoever is on that sport, we rep that sport.
Okay.
So that we thought swimming today, Erin's coming on. Obviously, you didn't do it. I didn't do it. I can't swim, Erin. I can't swim. I don't know how I'm in the family and I can't swim. I don't know.
So you serious? Are you serious? You can't swim?
I can swim enough. I'm not winning any races, no.
Could you swim 4 laps without stopping?
No. I could swim. You throw me in, I can get my butt out. Period. That's why I got a microphone here. I don't need to swim.
Maybe you could dive then.
But that's what, when you're talking about these sets and you're talking about how hard kids work, a lot of people don't understand. Like, that kid, if let's say they get 7th in a race or whatever, that kid, it's still hard work, to show up every day, to do the sets, to give them the work that you're giving them, that dedication, it's huge for kids that have never been off the couch before. And now they're setting goals. And again, that's where you have, at least I would if I was coaching. It sounds like you're doing the same. You have to back off and realize this kid isn't the next Olympic gold medalist. He's
Right.
The gold medal for him is finishing a set of 100.
And I think technique has been a huge thing I'm still learning about, because there's always new things that come up. I mean, I know how I do it, but that doesn't work for everybody. And so I found that like getting trainings and different things have been super helpful. But coaches' advice about not asking for help from coaches in your league, it was pretty solid
That's good.
advice.
Yeah.
They're
not going to help you.
Yeah.
I did my first year, and
And did they reach out? They help or not?
I did.
Somewhat?
I think everybody's been pretty supportive.
Good.
There's, but it was pretty solid advice for him too. Now that our team is getting better, I won't be asking.
Yeah.
I was walking into the high school for the wrestling that you guys had a dual meet the same time. It was maybe a month ago or so, and I walked in with your dad.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And we were talking, and I was like, he goes, "Well, I'm heading in there to help." Then I walked in there, the hot box.
Yes,
'cause
it is.
very hot. And I walked in there, and there he was There he was.
Yeah.
How big of an impact is he still making
Man,
to the program?
it's so much fun. I thought the other day, I know that a couple parents have gotten some pictures of my dad and I, but it's so special.
Yeah.
It's so special. He has so much to give still. And he can do it kind of just as he wants to.
Right.
He's been our diving coach. He's been coaching our 2 divers who made it to regionals, which
Very
I
nice.
don't know when the last time is that Monroe had somebody do that.
Wow.
So that's their state meet. So that's pretty huge. So he's been pretty fun. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. It's just an honor.
Yeah.
And the kids really respect him.
Right.
And I love that.
Yeah.
He's trying to pump them up, which I'm still learning how to do. I have sometimes more testosterone than the boys do.
Yeah.
Like, let's go. And so it's fun to have him on there. The other day he was laughing because they weren't kicking enough. And he got really after me and said, "Erin, you're not even getting these guys to kick enough." He goes, "Maybe they should just start kicking the whole practice."
Oh, the kickboard.
So
Forgot about the kickboards.
He's got some good advice and things that I don't see. He's always pointing out to me on ways I can get better. And I always like that for anything. So.
Yeah.
Todd kind of got to it earlier. The difficulty in taking a program. I mean, your numbers were low, maybe not a ton of success. What do you do as a coach to flip that switch to say, you know what, it's not acceptable. It's not the norm. We are Monroe. We want to be about winning. How do you change that culture when it's not been successful for whatever, how many years? Just like Coach Bork walked into.
Yeah.
The expectations are low. And now that I'm taking over, now they're here. But how do you get from here to here?
I just think it's every day. It's the day-to-day stuff. And I think it's making the community know we believe in these kids. I mean, they're great. I have some great athletes and some really wonderful people I get to be around every day. So coaching to me is for personally, I want to win. But for these kids, I kind of feel like we already are.
Yeah.
And the changes that we're making, like I said, you can't really tell until you look at the end of the season and you're like, wow, we've accomplished something special. So to me, I think it's the support we're giving each other. The community knows we have a swim team again. There's attention and things happening for these kids that they deserve. And they have somebody in their corner. I hope they all feel like they have me in their corner, trying to get them some recognition that they deserve.
Right. If you could have one more thing added, like if you don't have it, what would you want to add? Would it be a grassroots program or more involved age group programs? What would you add?
We need a bigger feeder program for sure. I think every swim team needs that, and we're competing against the top teams in the state. So the swim teams that are in the SEC Red are the very best of the best, some of the best in the nation, actually. So we have, our work cut out for us. And so I think making sure that we have kids that understand swimming and what age you are when you're good
when you
at
start,
things.
or
So that when you come in as a freshman, you don't expect to be number one.
Yeah.
Have some logical goals with that. And I think, doing that as a child, like we were saying earlier, when you start doing that as a kid, you really understand the competitiveness of it.
And dealing with like losing, because
it's no fun.
It's no fun, but it's so
fun.
awesome. When I started at age 5 or 6 at the blocks, are doing different things, and you had to deal with it.
You have to overcome the challenge. And that's been tough too. The main thing our team, when you go to a meet and somebody is a real swimmer and watches our team, the first thing they'll say we're not really good at is dives. Starting
off the blocks.
You can probably guess why. We don't have starting blocks. And so it's kind of funny. This is the first year that I've really noticed that change. It's like, we really don't go long enough underwater because we have no ability to train for that. So I'm hopeful that, if I keep building this program and kids keep, finding successes, that we can get a facility that's going to house these kids. That's if we don't have that.
Right. And speaking of that, so back in the 80s, 90s, when my brother was a swimmer for your dad
Yep.
and Mike McCluskey and the
Yes.
group that I could Jim Sells and Craig Chappelle and that group that came through.
Some of them were just at our last home meet.
Right.
Really? Oh,
Yeah. So
reunion.
that was a great group. That was an
Yeah.
awesome group. But they could use at that time it was okay to
Yes.
compete because there was blocks back then.
It's just too shallow now.
Not-
It's too shallow. It's not a regulation depth. So somebody got hurt one time.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily
That's-
at our facility, but then they removed the blocks. And so it can't be grandfathered in. It needs to be deeper to dive in.
Okay. I gotcha. So if a parent's watching the show, hopefully thousands are going to be tuning in.
Easy. 1,000.
So let's say they have their kids and they're growing up.
Yep.
Where in Monroe would you recommend them to start? Just this
YMCA.
YMCA.
Yes.
Because growing
YMCA
up,
with Haley Hurley.
there you go. That's important because some parents are trying to figure out, are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? Let's start them with this. Swimming is even if they don't continue to swim, they should learn how to swim.
should learn
Because
how to
this guy
swim from
can't
a
even do
safe
2
That's
laps.
a great example.
For
Just to be
sure.
safe. I'm with you.
Right.
I'm taking
So
lessons right after the show.
But it is important. I think, that's the beginning. And then let's say they start to swim and then they're going to continue. So the YMCA is going to be kind of your
They
grassroots.
can kind of get through that, then the whole program learning to swim and then also being on a competitive swim team. And we have a really competitive club team. I mean, we're sending 3 or 4 kids to the zone championships that are on our team.
Awesome.
So
Wow.
really cool that we're finding success with that, even though we have a smaller program.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the facility,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah, and I think that's part of this coach's corner. We're learning as we go, but like when the coaches come on, there's some parents that just they don't know where to get their
Where to
kids
get started.
started. And we want to get this ball rolling.
Yeah.
You're doing great things, so let's keep feeding you athletes. It starts somewhere.
Yep.
So then they'll get into the age group, they'll start competing, and the next thing you know, they're a Trojan.
Yep.
One thing, Erin and I, we did a radio show a couple years ago with her dad, and went out to one of your practices, or went out to the pool. And I know one of the things that was really important to you then was just making it known that there's a swim team and a swim program. And so now it's been fun for me to sit back, watch social media, seeing all the crazy things that you're doing with shirts and hoodies and awards and all your good stuff. So tell us.
I thought of you this morning, and I was like, I know.
I know it. That's gonna be one of the
You
questions.
got to have some of your.
I told her,
gear
you
on,
gotta
so
have
I
the
put
gear.
it on.
Yeah.
You got to have the gear. So talk about, obviously our show, right? Podcast, right? We're blowing up Monroe County with this
we're gonna
stuff.
try. We're
So
gonna do
tell
our
about
best.
the importance of social media. Really, it is important now
It is.
in your program.
It's difficult to manage, though, I'm finding, because if I post about it, the paper might not, so you've got to be a little bit careful about your timing with things. And I found that sometimes if parents post things right away, that the paper might not cover it as much. So for me, I'm finding, social media has been a way for me to more loop in the parents and start getting the community support with that, but also letting, some of our alumni know that, hey, we're here and we're improving and we're working hard. And it's fun to see their support with that too. Like Bill Breeze is a good friend of my dad's.
Legend.
And he donated to our program this year, and that meant more to me than anything I think have ever happened. It was just so special
Right.
that he cares so much about what he went through as a kid to help our program now.
And how cool is it? You mentioned having some of those former swimmers come
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
and visit or to help out at practice. I mean, I think that speaks volumes about what you're building there at Monroe with the swim program, is having people back. I know you go back to Tennessee, what that means to you. You go back, maybe have cross-country reunions. I know that happens with Coach Bork occasionally.
Yeah, it's all. Yeah.
The team just I mean, how important is that? That is huge. You see somebody walking in and say, I swam here.
Yeah.
It meant so much to me to swim for your dad or to swim for you now.
Perfect segue into the questions of the day. So we talked about before the show started.
Who's on your
Before the
bedroom
pod-
wall? Already got there.
No, not the posters, none of
Okay,
that.
all right.
Michael Jordan
So
also.
if you had to go back, you've been on the Monroe High School swim deck for how many years? Since
My whole life.
your whole life.
We're not.
So pick your.
I know how old she is, but we're not saying it.
Water wings,
How about
I
your
vividly
top
remember.
5
Oh, here we go.
boy swimmers out of Monroe High School?
That you can remember.
Your top 5 girl swimmers out of Monroe High School, and then the best performance you ever witnessed while you're on the pool deck.
And it doesn't have to be high school.
And it
could
doesn't have to be
college.
high school because we asked Coach Bork the same thing.
His was a memory
A
from
hurdle, the hurdles, 110 hurdles. He said the guy.
against his brother or
Yeah,
something.
no, his brother was. He was watching his brother.
Yeah, something, yeah.
So
Well, I think, I already mentioned Bill. I think Bill was a great athlete, and he was somebody that wasn't a swimmer, just came out for the team. I feel like sophomore year, maybe. He didn't even swim all 4 years, I don't believe. Came out and was a state qualifier and was just a huge asset to the team, and I think still might even have a record, actually. If not, it just got broken. Cameron Craig.
sorry, Bill.
Sorry, Bill.
Cameron Craig, for sure, cannot not be listed. Can I combine girls and
You can
boys?
just rattle them off.
So I've got
We
two
just like to
there.
name drop.
Julie Schnorberger
Yes.
is an amazing athlete.
Yeah.
I always thought it was cool that she wasn't very tall.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be 6'2", and that would make me a better swimmer, but she was very short and was really athletic and really good. I know there's some in between the
She was
time.
400 IM, if I can, right? Wasn't she 400 IM?
I think so at University of Michigan. That
yeah.
ended up being her race. Yeah.
So Cameron, Julie,
Bill.
Bill,
Mike McCluskey.
Mike McCluskey.
Yeah.
So we're going back. We're going back in the that's 80s.
But see, this is my era because
Yeah.
that's my dad's era,
Yeah.
you know. So that's kind of the one I know about, and I know there was a handful of really good athletes in the early 2000s after I left to Ashley McLaughlin was a really good swimmer that grew up with me and swam.
Yeah.
Really liked her a lot. Boy, I don't even know.
Do you have any like top 10 lists like from the all or
You know,
top
to
5?
be honest with you, I started one when I started coaching because we haven't had any.
That's
Yeah.
all. See,
That'd be fun to
those
put
are
that
awesome
together.
because that's when the kids start getting that.
I wanna
at the
crack
beginning
the
of
top 10.
top 10,
Yeah,
top
so
20.
we have that right now just so that it's from my coaching experience. These are the times, but there's not a lot of records of stuff. In fact, our pool is the only pool I've been in that doesn't have a record board in it.
We got to fix that.
We got to change that.
We need some sponsors.
We've got to get it deeper
Get
and
hold
get
of
a
Erin.
record board.
Deeper with a record board.
Yes, please.
Come on.
We gotta do a
people
fundraiser.
watching the
Let's do a
show.
fundraiser.
Let's go. All right. So I know Todd asked you, how about greatest swim moment as we got to wrap up here? Something you witnessed as a kid, as a coach, that event, some record-breaking event, or
be
just
a
something
funny
memorable.
one?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's
So
a funny show.
My funny moment is I was probably about 10, and my dad was coaching high school girls swimming, and there was a girl swimming the 500 free who typically didn't do it. She was in an end lane, and all of a sudden she's swimming along, and she just stops. And so my dad leans down in the pool and taps her on the head, and she started swimming again. And it was the wildest thing. So I think I don't think that's legal. Like I don't think you'll
Yeah,
even
touch
touch
your
your
athletes?
But it was almost like she had some sort of like I don't know. She just stopped swimming, didn't sink or anything. He tapped her on the head and she started swimming again.
Isn't it like playing tag when we were in elementary school or something?
I don't think he put her
Freeze
in the
tag? Freeze
500
tag?
again after that.
No.
Oh,
No.
got to look at those. I remember that. Now you're bringing
Yes,
up memories.
The counters.
The counters.
Yeah.
And then in 1650 was 66 laps. 68.
That was my race.
68 laps.
I got nothing.
That was my race in college.
Last question here as we got to wrap up our show here. A piece of advice. I know you're still young into your coaching career here. Piece of advice for somebody that wants to get into the coaching game, not necessarily swimming, but a piece of advice that you would give them as they go forward.
I think just make sure, like I've said it a couple of times, make sure you know where your athletes are at. You know, what are their interests are. I always make them fill out a goal sheet so I understand
that.
why did you start to swim. And you know, one time somebody put because my uncle was a swimmer and I want to impress them. Perfect.
Yeah.
I can help you with that.
Yeah.
You know, so try to find something special you can do for each kid. It might not be the overall vision of what your program is going to be, but it'll help your program along the way just by helping somebody.
Awesome.
Love it. Erin Dowen. Let's go.
Go
Monroe
Trojans.
Swimming. Come
Yes,
out.
yes.
Let's go. Hit up Erin, right? Check out her program. She's doing some great things. We'll be back with another episode. Coach's Corner.